Welcome to using quick sizing buttons, and in this video we're going to talk about a standard window and the three different quick sizing buttons that we can use to resize our windows. We're going to talk about a couple of keyboard shortcuts, and we're going to talk a little bit about snap. So when you open a program, it opens in its own windows, and that's how Windows got its name. But once you open them, how can you control those windows? And what we do is we use the quick sizing buttons. In older versions of Windows, you had basically standard and non-standard windows. So a standard window would have, you know, three quick sizing buttons. You'd have a minimize, you'd have a maximize slash restore down, and then you'd have the close. A non-standard window would have maybe one of those or two of those buttons, but it wouldn't have, you wouldn't be able to use all three. So in older versions of Windows, a non-standard window would be like the calculator, where you'd have the minimize and the close, but the maximize or the restore down wasn't available. Or the sticky notes. Sticky notes is considered a non-standard window because you have the option to open it and you have the option to delete it. You don't have any other options in between. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at Firefox and Google Chrome in this. And so here I have Firefox, and when I clicked it opened in a smaller window, and up here in the right hand corner I can see my three different sizing buttons. With Windows 10, it's a little bit different than it is in older versions of Windows. We still have the minimize button, we still have the restore down slash maximize button, and we still have the close. But with the active window in the older versions of Windows, you would see this was red without cursoring over it. So now it's not red unless you cursor over it. Okay. So let's take a look at these from left to right. The first button that we see, I'm holding my cursor over it, and this is the minimize button. And what that means is when I click the minimize button, the program will continue to run, but the screen or the window is going to be minimized to the taskbar, where it will live until we pull it back up and say we want to use you again. If you have a window or a website open, so let's just go to ghc.instructure.com, which is our login for Canvas. So we have this open, and I don't think that's the right password, so we're going to put the right password. And then I can see the canvas. If I minimize this, okay, so I'm going to click minimize, and it's going to shrink that down to the taskbar. If I hold my cursor over that, it's going to give me a little thumbnail. If I had multiple things open, I would see multiple different windows. Now, I don't think the Arrow Live preview works on campus, but it will definitely work on your computers at home. So here I'm going to go ahead and click this to bring it back up. Now again, it opened back up in the smaller size. We are not a full-size window at this point. And I just moved it around by clicking with my left mouse button and holding and performing a drag action. Okay, so here I am just moving it around my screen. This is the title bar area. Used to be that this would say Mozilla Firefox, and then you might have a tab. Because we have tabbed browsing and that's just the way it is, we don't really see the title here anymore, but this is still considered the title bar area. And that's where you would click to move this around your screen. Okay, so I'm in a smaller size. I'm going to come over here to the second button, and this is the maximize button. It's a single square, and if I click it, it's going to maximize the current window to the full size of the screen. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now I have a full-size window on my screen for Mozilla Firefox showing me the GHC and structure site. And that same button that was a single square is now a button with 2 squares. So this button pulls double duty. Right now, this means if I click this, it's going to restore the window down to the size it was before I clicked the maximize button. So let's go do that. Here we go. So now it's that small size again. Okay, so now I've got that small size, and this again has went to 1 square, which means if I click it, it's going to maximize the screen and make it the same size, or maximize the window, make it the same size as the screen. In this mode, it's as big as it's going to get. You can't resize it using anything other than this button. So we're going to click this again. And now we're back to a place where we have a smaller window. I can see some icons on my desktop. I could possibly even see another window if it were behind this window. But if I pull my cursor up to a border, you'll notice that the cursor turns into a double arrow. So if I click this with my left mouse button and pull down, it will decrease the size of the window, the height of the window. I'm pulling up, now it's increasing the height of the window. You can do the same thing on the right or the left. So here I have a double arrow. I'm going to click and hold my left mouse button, and then I can increase or decrease the width of the window. If I find a corner, you'll see I have a diagonal arrow. If I click and hold my left mouse button, I can increase or decrease the height and the width at the same time. Not necessarily is it proportionate, but we can deal with both measurements at the same time using a diagonal or the corner. Okay, kind of makes me seasick looking at that, huh? Okay, so I'm going to let go now, and I'm going to come up here and I'm going to maximize the window. If I restore down, it takes it back down to the size it was before we maximize. So that encompassed our window change. Okay. So that's minimize, and that's restore down slash maximize, or maximize slash restore down. It doesn't really matter. That just pulls double duty. The next quick sizing button is the X, and the X does just what it sounds like. It's going to close that window and possibly even the entire program, depending on how many windows you might have open. Sometimes I might have 2 or 3 Word windows open where I have multiple documents open in one. Well, I have one window with one document, another window with another document, and another window with another document. That's 3 instances of that program being open. So if I close one window, I'm simply just closing that particular document. So if we click the X, it's going to close the window, take it out of memory, put it back on the hard drive, and I'm no longer going to have the little white bar underneath the icon on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So I'm going to close. So here you can see that Firefox is currently closed. Now I have other programs that are open. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and open up Firefox again. I want to show you Snap, which is a feature that was introduced in Windows 7. Now you also notice that when I opened Firefox back up, it opened back up in the smaller size. So if I want it to be bigger, I would have to maximize it, then close it, and then go open it back up so that I wouldn't have to maximize it every time I opened it up. There we go. So now it opened back up into its bigger size. Internet Explorer subsequently doesn't do that. Internet Explorer can be quite tricky to make it open full size once it gets into the mode where it doesn't want to open full size. So, but Firefox and Google Chrome are pretty easy to do. So here we're going to talk a little bit about Snap, and like I said, it's a feature that was introduced in Windows 7. The actual concept has been around for a while. if you had Windows, I think back to Windows 95, you could use the taskbar. You could right click and say, I want to show the windows side by side. Now, obviously, I have multiple programs open, and if I do that, it's going to show all of them side by side. So I'm going to have basically 6 little blocks, 3 on each side, showing all my windows. I don't necessarily want to do that. So I would have to close most of these programs except for the 2 that I wanted to show, and then I could do the side by side. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Oh, that was the only one that was maximized or open. So let's do this. The rest of them were all minimized to my taskbar. So let's do this. All right, so now let's tell it we want to show them side by side. And so now I have all these windows and they're just kind of over one another. So that's kind of clunky to me, so I wouldn't want to do that. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say undo that. But with Snap, you can pick your windows. So if I come over here and minimize these, now I want to have both of my browsers on the screen so that I can see them at the same time. I'm going to click in this area. Remember, this is the title bar area. I'm going to click in this area. I'm going to grab it with my left mouse button and I'm going to pull it over to the left. When my cursor gets to the outermost border there, see my cursor's right there, and you can see behind it I've got this white outline. Once I let go, it's going to resize this window to that area. And then you saw that the rest of those, you had 5 different windows, and it said, oh, well, what's the other one that you want to use? So I double clicked on Firefox, and then it also went to the right side. I could have also done the same process and clicked in the title bar area and pulled it over and let it go, and it would have snapped to that side. So that's what it's called. It's called Snap. Really cool feature. I use it all the time. A lot of times I'll use it. I'll have a couple of Word windows open with different documents, and I'll be copying and pasting from one document into the other, or just using it as like a reference. So if I'm writing a paper, I could have my window open for my browser and have it pointed towards an encyclopedia page or towards, organizational page, pulling information, not verbatim, because we know that plagiarism is bad, but paraphrasing. I can say, oh, well, this is what they mean here, and then I could write my paper having the left side the research, and then the right side actually doing the paper portion. And don't forget to cite your sources. If you use somebody else's work, you have to cite your sources. But you could use the Snap feature that way. Really cool. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to minimize these 2. I'm going to get back to my desktop, and we can see here that I have File Explorer open, I have Google Chrome, Mozilla Firefox, I have my calculator, I have Word, and I have PowerPoint. So that's 6 programs. I told you we were going to talk about a couple of keyboard shortcuts. The first one we're going to talk about is the Alt-Tab keyboard shortcut. And what this does is it activates what's called flip. It allows you to flip through the different programs that are currently open on the computer. This has been around for a really long time, used it forever. It's very, very handy to use to get to a program very quickly. Now you could say, well, I could just grab the mouse and I could come over here and I could, click the one I want. It's also nice to have these keyboard shortcuts in mind in case your mouse isn't working, or in case you just don't want to pick your hand up off the keyboard and try to find your mouse and pull it where you need to go, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to hold down the Alt key. We're not releasing it. We're holding it down. So I'm holding down my Alt key and I'm going to press Tab 1 time. Now I'm still holding my Alt key. I only pressed Tab once and then I released it, but my Alt key is still being depressed, okay? So you'll see here I've got this screen that popped up, or this window, and I have all of the programs that are currently open. If I press Tab 1 time, it's going to move focus. See how it moved focus to the new tab, Google Chrome, okay? Now I'm going to hit Tab again. It's going to move focus to Mozilla Firefox. tab again, Word, tab again, PowerPoint, tab again, Calculator, tab again, File Explorer. I am still holding my Alt button down. I have not let go of that yet. So what's the purpose of this? If I hit tab, I can come over here to Document for Word, and if that's the program that I want to fill my screen to be the active window, then I can let go of my Alt key. And this is where Word will pop up, and then I can start doing my thing. If I do Alt and Tab again, I'm holding my Alt key down. I have not released it. I can scroll around and I can get to Calculator, and now I can go ahead and let go of my Alt key. Now you'll notice that Word is still back there, but the Calculator window is in front of Word, and it is now the active window. How can I tell it's the active window? I look down in the taskbar and my active window is lit, okay, right here. There's a lighted box around this calculator icon, all right? So that was one of the keyboard shortcuts. Next keyboard shortcut is going to be Alt F4, and what that does is it closes the active window. So which is the active window? It's the calculator. So if I press Alt and hold it and then press F4, which is a function key at the top, and let go of Alt, it closed that calculator window. See the calculator?